You have three teams within 2 points of each other. Florida has 91 points. Toronto has 90 points. And Tampa has 89 points. Today is March 29th, 2025. Welcome to the Checking From Behind podcast. I'm your host, Zach, as always joined by Preston. And we have a lot to talk about today, including some quick hitters.
College season's over now for a lot of the teams. There was a big upset with Minnesota losing in the college hockey playoffs. So they got a couple guys that are signed by the teams that drafted them. They're joining them. Snuggerud is signing with the Blues, and he's reportedly going to play Monday on their game. So I think he's with the team now. He's just playing. I think he's expected to start skating with them on Monday. And then Matthew Wood, drafted by the Predators in the first round of 2023 draft, is also signing with the team and expecting to join them sometime next week. So congratulations to those two guys making it to the show. And it's good for those teams to get those prospects, especially for the Blues, getting some reinforcements going on this playoff stretch where they've been playing really well.
That, and for the Predators, getting Matthew Wood, seeing what you have, he gets a taste of NHL action. Predators were eliminated from the playoffs earlier this week. So seeing a guy like Matthew Wood in the NHL action, we'll see what it takes for both of these guys, too. I want to bring up the Alexander Ovechkin stuff with Marc-Andre Fleury and how in the Capitals, I think it was like a 4-2 loss. Or either way, though, they lost in Minnesota. And Alex Ovechkin, before the game, actually, he wanted all the players to stay out on the ice. But when some Capitals players were heading into the visiting dressing room, he pulled them back onto the ice to shake Marc-Andre Fleury's hand. Great gesture.
Yeah,
we have two greats in the game, two future Hall of Famers. And that just goes to show you, even though he is a top 10 player of all time, it's probably going to be a little bit controversial there, he still has a lot of class. Classy move by Ovi.
You talking
well
about
done.
Ovi, controversial being a top 10 player of all time?
Is that not controversial?
He's easily a top 10 player.
I think he's top 7 all time.
I think he's arguably top 5. He's the greatest goal scorer in NHL history.
Okay.
I don't think anyone who says he's not top 10 doesn't know hockey.
That's a great take.
Like point blank.
That's a great take.
Either you're like the biggest Caps hater in the world, or you've never watched a hockey game.
That's a great take.
Yeah.
Or you're some fucking 60-year-old guy who's stuck on some player who played in the 1970s. I don't know. Anyways, great move by Ovi. I love it.
Yeah. No, that's definitely cool to see.
The Washington Capitals and the Pittsburgh Penguins are headed in two very different directions.
Yeah, and the reason why we're throwing Pittsburgh in with this is because if we feel like, because Ovechkin and Crosby are in the twilights of their career right now, two very, very different directions. Obviously, Crosby's had more success throughout most of his career, winning-wise. He's won 3 Stanley Cups. Ovi's only got 1. Both have had Hall of Fame careers. They're both top 10 all-time players. But I kind of brought this up last week about how interesting it is for Pittsburgh and Washington starting to prepare for the post-Sidney Crosby and the post-Ovechkin era. And we were looking at the way the rosters are being built out, and, man, Pittsburgh's in a horrible spot. And Washington completely transformed their roster, and they look good to go for the long term without Ovechkin.
One team like Washington, they understood that they just needed to do whatever it takes to win hockey games and get whoever it takes. And they did that this offseason, getting multiple guys. And they even took a risk in trading Darcy Kemper for PLD. And it's worked out great. PLD has revitalized his career in Washington, and he might not even be living up to his huge contract. I think $8.6 million he's making. But he is playing his role well on that second line. And
I think the biggest reason why that was a risk for Washington is because the term left on his contract. He's 2 years into an 8-year contract, so he still has a lot of term left on that deal. But now that he's worked out there, he's a good fit. They have him under contract for a long time. They have Dylan Strome under a very good deal. They just signed Jacob Chikrin into a long-term deal. They have their goaltender of the future and Logan Thompson locked up long-term. So this team, Rasmus Sandin's also on a long-term deal. Matt Roy, or Wah, I'm not sure if he's French-Canadian or not.
Wah.
It is Wah, okay.
Yeah.
But they have like a bunch of their really good core players locked up long-term. And you go over to Pittsburgh side, and they got Crosby, and who's still really, really good. Just broke Wayne Gretzky's record for the most point-per-game seasons in NHL history at 20, which is insane.
You got to witness that, too, in person?
Yeah. I mean, he didn't really give much of a celly.
Did he? Was there like a thing where his teammates came out on the ice? No, really.
No, there's nothing. It just was
Really?
like another goal. Yeah.
It's fucking stupid, dude.
Yeah, no acknowledgement from like on the jumbotron or anything. Congratulations, just.
I mean, it was a
kept
road
playing.
game, but like I don't know.
I mean, I feel like because I think when any one of Wayne Gretzky's record gets broken, that's pretty historical.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm sure, like if Ovi broke Wayne Gretzky's goal record on the road, whatever arena they were in would stop the game and have a moment, like a video ready on the board to like congratulate him.
Yes.
Just because the gravity of the moment.
Did you hear with Ovi's record-breaking chase? ESPN is having like this Ovi casting every time he plays. They're just having, they're literally just they have like his shifts, how many shifts he's had, his time on ice, goals. Like ESPN wants to capture this thing, and they obviously, like, we know that they ended up taking some of Washington's games to possibly capture it live on ESPN. But I just thought that was really funny. And
that's a big deal because, I mean, whatever broadcast is, like, calling the game, like, when you look up that video on YouTube in, like, 20 years, it's going to be that broadcast. And they want to be the broadcast behind that's going to get all those views and the recognition. And so when you think of that moment, you think of ESPN. Pittsburgh, like let's talk about them a little bit because obviously, I said earlier, they've had more success in the past. Since Sidney, you look at Sidney Crosby and Ovechkin, both very good careers, like I said. But Crosby has 3 Stanley Cups,
yes,
which puts them much over the edge of Ovechkin, even though all the individual accolades for Ovechkin, like as a legacy wise, but. Man, I don't know what to make of this Pittsburgh team. It doesn't seem like they have much of a plan. I'll give Kyle Dubas a little credit. I think he's trying to do the best with what he's got. I mean, but they have no goaltending at all.
The thing with Pittsburgh is they tried to build around Crosby and they failed at it between Hextall and between Dubas. And I get like Dubas is being he's playing with the cards that he was dealt from Hextall. But like even then though, like trading for Carlson, it's a mistake, but it's not a mistake because you can look at it. He's in the 97th percentile in offense, but his defense still isn't there. And when he won the Norris, when he put up 100 points, his defense was in the 0th percentile. Like towards the back end of his career, he's been horrible defensively. You didn't bring him in to be a defensive guy, though. He hasn't been a great defensive guy for a lot of his career, but when he was in Ottawa, though, give him credit. He was a good two-way guy, but still, his offensive game's always been superior. And when you're captain, and your franchise legend Crosby comes into your office, he's like, this guy's coming off a 100-point season. I want you to do whatever it takes to get him, and then you trade for him. Like that can't entirely be on you, especially as a new GM. That's your first summer. You want to make your players happy. You feel the pressure coming from Sidney Crosby, and then you go out and get him. And do I think the contract's bad? Yes. Do I think the haul they gave up was bad? Yes. But at the same time, though, a guy like Crosby has that right to come in, and if he asks for a player, you go out and get him. And then if you don't end up getting him, you have to have a good reason, in my opinion, on why you weren't able to get him, whether it's cap space, whether it's assets, whether it's this or that, whatever it may be. So I think that Dubas is doing the best he can with this job. But again, like you stated, the one downfall of this team is goaltending. Their goaltending has been the worst.
I mean, I was at the Sabres-Penguins game on Thursday. I don't think Pittsburgh played that bad. Jari and Nedeljkovic were both horrifically bad.
Jari has been, like,
I mean, I feel bad for the dude because he gave up with the first shot of the game. Like,
who did?
Jari. Tage Thompson. It was a bad play defensively. They had an odd man rush, and Tage just walked in and was able to do whatever he wanted.
I'm gonna circle back to Crosby and Ovi.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you, where do you rank Crosby and Ovi all time?
That's tough. I mean, individually wise. I mean, that's a really tough question because Crosby is the better all-around player.
But Ovi can score.
But Ovi's the greatest goal scorer in NHL history.
Yep.
So, I mean, they're both. I think I would put Crosby ahead of Ovechkin just because, the Stanley Cups, MVPs. He's also run a Rocket. He broke Wayne Gretzky's record for the most point-per-game seasons in NHL history, which is insane. 20 years of over 82 points is nuts.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, just to be that good for that long. And, Ovechkin will probably be right behind him, though.
Well,
You can make an argument for either or.
Before I add to that, I want to correct you. It's not over 82. It's just
Well, yeah, he's had a point in every game that he's played in.
a point in every game. That's crazy.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Yeah, he's averaging a point every game that he plays in.
Yeah, I'm being a jackass.
Yeah.
But going back to the greatest, I think Crosby is 5th all time. I think he's I got.
Would you put him ahead of Ovi?
Yes, I have Ovi 6th or 7th. I think I have Ovi 7th. I said earlier. I have Crosby 5. And I remember in the summer, I don't know if it was an episode with you or maybe it was an episode that you couldn't make, but super early in the season. Maybe it was even right before the season. I said Crosby was top 5 all time. I said he was 5th. I think it was with you.
I remember because then you forgot about Mario Lemieux.
Yeah.
And people were like Mario Lemieux.
Yeah, and then people. First off, I forgot about Yager.
Oh yeah, you forgot about Yager.
Funny story.
Yeah, I remember.
So,
the comments were roasting you.
It was an episode where Preston couldn't make it, so I was like, screw it. Can't find a replacement, can't find a guest. I'll do it myself. I was talking about the Penguins. And I forgot about Jaromir Jagr. And I said something about Crosby. I said Lemieux. And I said Malkin too because I was arguing Malkin is a generational talent. And I was naming off Penguins players, forgot Yager. And then I had to back myself up saying, talking about players that really only played for the Penguins, that's it. But clearly, that wasn't my process. I just fucking forgot about Yager. But then I was arguing that, and I was also talking about Crosby is 5th all time. And people were calling me fucking nuts. They're saying he's top 10, top 5 is ridiculous.
I mean, he's definitely top 10.
Now people are circling the wagons and saying that he's 5th all time. I was to the party before everybody else.
I don't know. Like I said with Ovi, if you look at those two players and say neither of them are top 10 greatest players in NHL history, you literally don't watch hockey.
You don't know puck.
No, seriously. I don't understand that. Because not only, especially Crosby, but those are some of the most hyped players ever.
And they're the best players
I
of our
would
generation.
say Sidney Crosby was probably the most hyped player ever in NHL history. Coming out of the draft, I think he was more hyped than Connor McDavid and Connor Bedard.
He was this player that was looked at as he's going to possibly break some Wayne Gretzky's records. And he did break one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone's ever catching Wayne Gretzky in terms of points.
Dude, Gretzky is on a different level with points. But just breaking any of Wayne Gretzky's records.
His rookie year, he had over 100 points.
And, I mean, did he win the Calder or was it
No,
Ovi?
Ovi won it.
Because he had over 50 goals.
Yeah.
Which is nuts.
That's the only award that Crosby never won.
It's Calder.
Yeah.
That is
well, he hasn't won a Norris or a Vezina.
Yeah, but of course.
Pretty much, I don't know. He might have won a Selke before. But pretty much, he's won almost every major award a player could possibly win. Except for the Calder. Same thing with Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid will never win a Calder because he lost it to Panarin.
Partially because he was hurt half the year.
Yeah.
This is Crosby's accolade. Just his trophy case. He, of course, has 3 Stanley Cups. He has 2 Art Rosses, 2 Conn Smythes, 2 Harts, 2 Mark Messier Awards, 2 Rocketer Awards, and 3 Lindsays.
Yeah, so he's had a pretty good career.
Yeah, and then Alexander Ovechkin's accolades. He has 1 Stanley Cup, 1 Art Ross, 1 Calder, 1 Conn Smythe, 3 Hearts, and holy shit, 1, 2, 3,
Rockets,
4,
7 or
5,
8.
6, 7, 8, 9 Rockets.
9, yeah.
9 Rockets, dude. That's ridiculous. Oh my God, I love that.
I think he won it 6 years in a row or something insane like
Yeah.
that. He was just winning it every year.
So there was a time where he won it from 2012, and he won it he won it from 2012 all the way up to 2019-20. Let me make sure it's right. 12, 13, 13, 14, 14, 15, 15, 16, 17. No, he didn't win it. He didn't win it 16, 17, but then he won it 17 to 20. So there was a 1-year gap between 2012 and 2020 where he didn't win it. Every other season he won it.
What years did Crosby win the Rocket? Because he probably won it the year he scored 51 goals. I'm just looking at his stats. I don't know. Other than that,
He
I don't
has
really see a number
so he won the Rocket in 2009 and 10, and then 16, 17.
Oh, okay, 44 goals. That must have been a down year for scoring that year.
I think that was part of the NHL where points were really, really down. Because I remember it was either 16 because it was
Is
either
that when Jordy Ben won
with 91 points or something.
Yeah, that was a bad. Yeah,
and then 17, 18, I think
No, Jamie Benn. I say
Yeah,
Jordy Benn.
yeah.
Yeah. Jamie Benn.
And I think 17-18 was like below 100 too. And then after that, scoring picked up like tremendously. And now you get like 100-point scores. You'll have like 20 of them in a year.
No offense to Jamie Benn, but you can't have him leading the league in points.
Now, didn't he win the Hart that year too?
I don't think so.
I don't know who won the Hart that year. Not that it's
Leading the league in points doesn't automatically make you MVP.
No, I know, but like,
yeah.
that was brutal. That's
rough
brutal.
year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
rough year.
I don't believe he won the Hart though. I don't think Jamie Benn ever won the Hart trophy.
I know in 17-18 it was Hall. I don't know. Are you looking up who won in 16-17? It wasn't. No, McDavid didn't win in 16-17.
He might have actually. I don't know. I doubt it. No, he did win in 16-17.
Who McDavid did?
Yeah.
Okay. How about John Tortorella being fired by the Flyers?
Did he get fired or did he quit?
I heard both. I heard Elliot Friedman tweeted out he ended up stepping down, but then the Flyers said that they fired him. Don't know. Honestly, it doesn't matter. He's not the coach of the Flyers anymore. But there was some shit that went down Tuesday that led to his firing. Did you hear about any of that at all? Because I mean,
I heard he was like the young players didn't like him.
For those of you guys that don't know, last Tuesday before their game against the Maple Leafs in Toronto, there was a very heated exchange between Torts and Cam York. Like, we're talking, it was like almost got physical. It didn't get physical, as that was confirmed by Philadelphia reporters and Brad Shaw, who is their interim head coach now. But Brad Shaw ended up dressing Cam York for Thursday's game, but he didn't play against the...
That just would have been just like, don't yell at the coach.
It was for a disciplinary issue, but also the Flyers didn't have another player to place in the lineup, and you can't voluntarily play shorthanded. So we dressed York for... Sorry. They dressed York, and he played 0 minutes. But then he ended up playing today against the Sabres in a 7-4 win. So what's your overall opinion on this firing?
I mean, I didn't think he'd make it through the summer anyway. I think he was a dead man walking. I mean, the interesting thing Tortorella said was he didn't want to be part of a rebuild. Then why did you agree to be the coach of the Flyers? Because they weren't in a good spot when you took over.
You clearly knew that they weren't going to be a contending team.
I mean, they should have made the playoffs last year.
Is that a coaching job, player job, like everything?
I think there was a certain goalie that got kicked out of the league that might have led to their collapse because now they don't really have any good goaltending right now either.
No, their goaltending is atrocious.
Not going to say that guy's name. Tortorella has never really been a good coach for the younger guys, like ever, anywhere in his career. I think after he got fired from Vancouver, he was nuts when he was in Vancouver.
Yeah. Oh,
You
yeah.
remember he tried
I
fighting
remember those.
the
yeah.
Calgary Flames team.
Mm-hmm.
Like he went to their locker room after the game. I think when he got fired from that, and I think he took the job at Columbus, he kind of settled down and was more of a player's coach. And he had success there. He was the best coach the Blue Jackets ever had. They had the most success they ever had in franchise history with him as their coach, winning a playoff series for the first time ever.
Against the record-breaking at the time Tampa Bay Lightning. I overall thought that maybe he would last throughout the season, but I didn't think he was returning after the season. I thought he was going to get fired, and I don't like calling for people's jobs because this is somebody's job. He's
just not the right coach for that team.
I wonder if he's going to end up getting another coaching gig this summer, or because I thought personally he was okay in like the TV media.
Oh, I think he'd be a great
business.
Media guy. I think he'd be great at interviewing players and stuff.
Oh, I was talking about being on TV.
Yeah, I'm saying I think he'd be great on TV.
Not interview. Oh, you're okay. Sorry, at like the panel desk. Okay, I
Yeah.
get it. Sorry, my first thought was going to like the sideline reporter.
I mean, he'd be good at that too. He'd be funny.
Yeah, you're not wrong. He is a funny guy. I mean,
yeah.
I genuinely enjoyed him on TNT's panel.
He was on the NHL Network, I think. I don't know.
I thought it was I thought
he was on
there
some
with
TV
Biz.
network, but I thought he was good on there. He definitely has the personality for TV. I mean, unless there's a job that he really wants that he feels like he could help, there's no shame in just calling it a career. In my opinion, he's a Hall of Fame coach.
Yeah.
One of the best U.S.-born coaches ever. I still think he has the respect around the league that if he obviously isn't going to go to a rebuilding team, like if the Sharks needed a coach, he wouldn't. I don't think he'd want the job.
No.
But let's say the Rangers have an opening, would he be open to going back to New York for a second stint? That's a more veteran team that maybe could use more of a veteran leader.
get somebody to put them in their place instead of more of a developmental role and getting young players accustomed to the NHL. I mean, New York wouldn't be a bad spot if they decide to let go of Laviolette. Like, if the Rangers
But I think if the Rangers, they don't make the playoffs, I think Laviolette's gone.
Laviolette's gone, and then we could see Tortorella at least getting an interview.
Or maybe
there.
even a team like Detroit. I think that's a team that really needs to be put in their place.
Oh, yeah, but also they're not going to get rid of McClellan because they just signed him to a multi-year
I forgot he's not an interim coach. Yeah.
But, I mean, there's very few teams that could use a guy like Tortorella. And also, I think Tortorella's in the same boat like Lindy Ruff. It's just not only are there best days past him, but also the NHL has evolved, and they haven't really evolved.
Yeah, for sure. Just Tortorella, like, Lindy Ruff has kind of changed his coaching style a bit. Tortorella's
been set in stone.
He still coaches like it's the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? There's guys that love him, and there's players that hate his guts.
A guy like Tortorella, he can be a hard on you, but also he wants to get the best out of you. And mentally, if you fall down and you decide to crumble when he puts the pressure on you, maybe mentally you're not good enough for the NHL. But he wants guys that respond to what he says, and if he screams in your face, not to sit there and
he wants you to scream back.
Right, he wants you to scream back twice as loud. Like, that's the type of coach that Tortorella seems to be in.
Tortorella, from what I've seen in videos of like him in the locker room or players that used to play for him, he is definitely the kind of coach that if you put in the effort he wants you to put in, he will love you.
He will respect the fuck out of you.
And those players that do that also love him, and they would like go to war with him. But then if you're a younger player or not more of an outspoken guy and you kind of just take the beatings, he's going to treat you like a bitch.
We saw Michkov, for example. There were Flyers fans getting pissed off because he was getting benched. He was getting scratched for multiple games in a row.
He did this last year like when he was benching Sean Couturier, their captain.
He doesn't care if you're the captain, if you've been in the league for 20 years, if you're a rookie. He doesn't care if coming into the season you're called their favorite. If you're not helping the hockey team, he's not going to play you. Mm-hmm. That's just how it is. And respect to him for that, but also I think there's also a certain time and place for that, like a guy, for example, like Michkov.
I think you need to play him through the issues.
Yes, thank you. That's the point I was going to bring up. Just let him play and figure it out himself. Yeah.
Since Tortorella's fired, he scored 4 goals in 2 games.
And he has 5 points.
Yeah, so he's been okay.
I think he'll be okay. Maybe Tortorella was a problem with him.
I mean, probably. I think he was holding him back and not letting him be as creative as you wanted to be.
Of course. You have to. A guy as skillful as Michkov, you have to let him just play his hockey.
Which is interesting because he let Panarin do that in Columbus.
And he was phenomenal in Columbus before he ultimately walked in free agency.
It's fine to want to hold your players accountable and you want them to buy into your system, but there's some players that their talent is so good you have to let them play their own game.
Just let them play free. That's what some coaches that have developed players so well, let these 20, 25-year-olds do in the NHL. They don't force a certain system on them. They assess the team before the season. It's like, what?
Well, it's also setting up with the right line mates, too, to be
team
able to help them make up for the mistakes.
Team chemistry is also a thing, but also knowing what these players are good at and basically forming your strategy and however you go about things in the NHL lineup towards those players. So if you have, like the San Jose Sharks, let's just take them for example. That's a skillful top 6 especially. You're not going to sit here and be like, we're going to play a 1-4 trap or a 1-3-1 trap, dump and chase. No, you're going to tell these guys, we're going fast breakouts. We are going to be hard on the forechecks. We want 2 guys on the puck at all times, and we want to be flying around the zone. And then in the offensive zone, we're playing positionless. Whoever gets the puck, find open ice, create space for yourselves, and play free. You're like a guy like John Tortorella. He didn't do that towards the end of his tenure, especially in Philadelphia.
I mean, it wasn't really like that in Columbus either, except for with like a few players where he would kind of like let loose. Like Panarin was one of them because he could create so many opportunities that you can't really have him play a certain system. It's like that in New York. When New York, they have a pretty strict system, but Panarin is one of those players that is allowed to kind of do what he likes because he drives play so well.
The coaches need to trust the players too. You can't, like, if you're a first-year coach, for example, going into like a Philadelphia.
Well, yeah, it'd be one thing if he wasn't playing defense. Like I think a good event of like Ovi used to be allowed to play completely free, and he did not play defense. And then
Bruce Boudreau?
No, not Bruce Boudreau. Barry Trotz came in, and you have to play fucking defense, and got on his ass, and he became a two-way player.
And then they won a cup.
Yep.
With a guy like Michkov in his rookie year, you can't force a system on him right away, in my opinion. Like, also, you can contradict that too.
I mean, you want to see his defense. That's the thing about rookies. You don't want to let him play completely free because you want him to learn the right way to play. Like, a good moment I saw, like, when I was at the Sabres game on Thursday is Isak Roseanne, first-round pick from the Sabres. He's been up and down NHL, AHL this year. He's probably played like 7 games for the Sabres. Had his first NHL point on Thursday. I thought he had a good game. He had one really, really stupid play. The Sabres were trying to break it out, and he made an errant pass to the other team, and it led to an odd-man rush. I was curious to see what was going to happen, so when he went back to the bench, Lindy got off the bench and pulled him aside and said, "Hey, come talk to me." Got in his ear about something, patted him on the back, and he was out there next shift and he didn't make another mistake the rest of the game. Like, I think that's the way it's got to be with these young players. Is they need to play well defensively.
Right.
Like, they don't have to be perfect, but you have to see them making an effort.
Not only that, but also it doesn't take you screaming in a player's face all the time,
I
too.
think the days of screaming at players is pretty much over.
Yeah, like what Lindy Ruff there, in my opinion, is perfect. You don't need to show him up. You don't. If you show him up in the locker room. Don't do it.
Oh
out
yeah,
on the bench.
don't do it on the bench or like have him talk after the game, go over film. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't need to scream at the guy's face. It's like he knows he's made a mistake.
Exactly.
Like these are not. I knew I made a mistake when I was playing like pee-wee hockey. If I had a bad turnover, I go over the bench and the coach wouldn't have to tell me because I knew I fucked up.
Exactly. And sometimes that's all it takes. And even like a coach getting in a player's ear too, pulling him off. That's great. And then you also need, as a player, having a coach that has confidence in you, whether you make a mistake or not, also helps you play looser. Mm-hmm. Because if you have a coach where if you feel like he doesn't have confidence in you, then you start second-guessing things. You start playing tense. The second you get the puck, now you're like, what the fuck do I do? Like, you freeze in a way. If you have a coach that if you make a mistake, he teaches you instead of just screaming at you, it makes a whole difference. And, like, in high, intense hockey games or just sports games in general, you'll see coaches screaming. Generally, it's at the entire team. It's not just at a single player. And, like, there's multiple instances where, like, during the NHL playoffs, we'll do, for example, you'll see they'll pan to the head coach, and they're just screaming at the top of their lungs, looking side to side at the bench. I think that's okay.
Oh, yeah,
the whole team.
If the whole team's playing like shit, yeah, scream.
Like if the Panthers go down 3-0 early in the first period in the finals,
they should be getting screamed at.
Paul Marie should be at the top of his lungs, on top of the bench, screaming at the guys after that third goal. Like that's okay. So I think showing up a guy in public on the bench, not okay. Doing it.
I think the only time it's okay is if it's like their 5th mistake they've made of the game, where they're like led to goals, where they're just like passing it to it's like passing it to Ovi in the slot when you're trying to break out, and you're like, what the fuck's wrong with you?
But also, if a player keeps doing that, they shouldn't be in the
NHL. They're getting benched. Yeah, yes. But I think that's when yelling's warranted.
Yes, the number one golden rule in your defensive zone.
No pucks up the middle.
No pucks up the middle.
None.
Nope. Use the boards in that instance.
Yeah, if you're that desperate, off the glass and out.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And the one thing before we move on to the Atlantic race, the one thing that really, really grinds my gears or whatever is passes right across the goalie crease. Don't do it. I don't care if there's a guy that's
you never fuck around with the puck in front of your own net. Never.
Right. And I've seen instances where players will be in front of the goalie. They do a drop pass, but there's miscommunication. Other team gets the puck and fucking scores. Never do that. Fucking bank it off the boards or take your time.
It happened at a Sabres game. It was that the Sabres were playing the Capitals a few years ago, and Casey Middlestat thought we were still on a power play. He didn't realize the guy came out of the bench and went to drop it back, and Sonny Milano was just standing there, and he said, okay, I guess I get a breakaway.
It was literally the perfect pass to Sonny Milano.
And he scored on the breakaway.
Of course he did.
That's a bonehead play right there. I think that's worth getting yelled at.
Yes, and then for some reason after that, he actually played good hockey down the stretch. Let's hop into the Atlantic division race because this turned from a 2-man race to a 3-man race really quickly. You have 3 teams within 2 points of each other. Florida has 91 points. Toronto has 90 points. And Tampa has 89 points. The last 10 games for Florida, they're 6-4. And then Toronto and Tampa are both 5-4-1 in their last 10. This is an exciting race. I thought maybe Florida had this in the bag at one point. Toronto went on a crazy streak. They started winning hockey games. Tampa Bay looked like maybe they'd be hovering around wild card 1, maybe fighting for wild card 2 at the beginning of the season. They turned on the Jets on. Teams actually want that first spot. This isn't like the Eastern wild card race where teams keep losing. The Atlantic race, these teams keep fucking winning and winning and winning and winning. And at one point before,
do you think they want to play? Do you think Tampa wants to play Florida or Toronto in the first round, or Toronto wants to play Tampa or Florida?
Fuck no, these teams want that first
I'll play
spot.
the fucking Senators.
Yes, these teams want this first spot, and this is how important the first spot is to Florida, Toronto, or Tampa. Because honestly, I think Ottawa would be tough out in the wild card round, but it's much better than playing Florida.
I would love if Florida and Toronto played each other in the first round.
No.
I would love that.
No, stop it, dude. No. I would love to see Toronto get first, play Ottawa, get the Battle of Ontario, play Florida and Tampa in the Battle of Florida, and then the winner of those two games play each other in the second round. I would like that.
We'll see. I genuinely have no idea who will win this division.
So you don't have a prediction? Because, give me Toronto.
I would have hit the Panthers. Now the Lightning are going to win, so.
If the Lightning go on to win the division, I think that'd be very unexpected. I would be here for it, but also I think seeing a Florida and Toronto first-round matchup would suck.
I think that'd be fun. It'd be
electric. It'd be intense. It'd be electric, but first off, if Toronto plays Florida in the first round, you're catching a tough break if you're Toronto again. That'd be tough.
But you gotta beat the best to be the best.
And also, you have to play with the cards out you dealt.
And I think, honestly, if Toronto did end up beating Florida in the first round, I think that would give them the confidence they needed to go deep.
They're going to the Eastern Conference Finals if they beat Florida in the first round.
Maybe Stanley Cup final, honestly.
This team is good enough, in my opinion, to get to the finals.
I think the bigger question right now for Toronto is who do you start game one?
Joseph Woll. I will start Woll.
Stolarz has been really good, too.
Stolarz has been great. Their goaltending tandem in general has been great. You can't overthink this, in my opinion. You just have to go with Woll. And I think that's the one thing that if you're Toronto, if you go in there and you're like, we're going to start Woll first for game one, for example. If he plays bad, we'll throw Stolarz in. I think that's worst-case scenario.
I don't like that, though, because if you're Joseph Woll, I don't want to be worried about having a bad game and not playing.
You want to be able to bounce back in game two.
But if that's what Craig Berube does, and if Woll has a bad game one or doesn't play as well as they want him to play, Stolarz is going in for game two, I think that might lead to Woll playing worse. Because if it's in his head, if I don't play really well tonight, I'm not playing again in the playoffs.
I hope that Berube is smart enough to just go with one goaltender and ride him no matter what. And I think Berube is smart
that's what
enough
teams
for that.
usually do. And they just ride a guy unless they play horrifically bad, like the Bruins did last year with Swayman, where they decided not to start Allmark.
Yeah. They rode Swayman the entire way no matter what, which, good decision. They end up getting out of the first round in an overtime
he was a big reason why they got out of the first round.
Yeah, he stole them that series.
They almost choked it, but
they almost did, yeah.
Might be the only competitive one in the league right now.
Top three in the division? Or
no, just competitive division race, because, Washington's running away with the Metro. Vegas is pretty...
They're running away with the Pacific now.
Winnipeg, is 6 points up. I don't see them losing the division, but... In the Atlantic, all three teams are definitely in it. Any one of them can win it.
Are we really shocked by this, though?
I'm shocked with how good Tampa's been this year. I thought they were definitely a playoff team. I didn't think they'd be pushing for the 1 seed in their division.
I'm with you on that. I thought they would probably get around 96 points.
Because Vasilevsky is back to normal. He's bounced back. He looks great. Kucherov's having another MVP caliber season. Brandon Hagel's been amazing this year. Jake Gensel's been a really good pickup for them.
30-plus goals this season. I like the take that we had over the offseason talking about Andrei Vasilevsky, where we thought last year was an outlier, a goaltender coming back from hip surgery who didn't really have much of an offseason the 3 seasons prior because they went to 3 straight cup finals. Mm-hmm. And now this season, he's putting up a .918, .920 save percentage.
If Connor Hellebuck wasn't having the season he had, he would have a very good chance to win the Vezina.
I think you'd have a couple other goaltenders too.
Darcy Kemper's been really good too.
Logan Thompson's been great.
Yeah, but Hellebuck's been so much better.
Hellebuck for Hart. Hashtag Hellebuck for Hart.
You can honestly make that argument. The last goalie to win the Hart was Carey Price, that was 10 years ago. So maybe 10 years later another goalie wins it.
Bang! He deserves it.
He's been that good this year. He's going to win the Vezina. Yeah, he has a 2.02 goals against average and a 925 save percentage. I mean, Vasilevsky has a 921, also really good, 218. Darcy Kempfer, 919. Philip Gustafson's also been really good. And then Stolarz at a 917. Like, some good goaltending this year.
You know what's still nuts too is the league average save percentage is it's close to an all-time low at 905.
But the top guys have been so good.
They've been so good.
I think it's like the second half of the league that the goaltending's been horrific.
There's a skill gap. Like, I know that's a video game term, but there's a skill gap between the top. Like, it's so top heavy. The goaltending is. The only thing that worries me with Connor Hellebuyck and the Jets is the history of Connor Hellebuyck in the playoffs and just his team in general, because their defense hasn't been good in the playoffs with Hellebuyck. So it doesn't fall all on Hellebuyck, even though he gets the defensive and goaltending stats.
I mean, I do want to say Connor Hellebuyck has not been awful every time he's been in the playoffs.
No, he hasn't.
His first year he had played playoff games. He played 17 games. This is when they made it to the conference final. He had a 922 save percentage. It's been these last couple years that he's been bad.
Yeah, the last 2 years.
Like, it's not it's not been a historical precedence where, you know, they just make the playoffs and Connor Hellebuyck forgets how to play hockey. Like, it was just the last 2 years. I mean, they ran into a really good Colorado team, and like you said, their defense was also horrific and was not doing Hellebuyck any favors.
No. If they get Western Conference Finals run Hellebuyck, this team's going to the finals.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I mean, they got a tough road to get there, though.
I mean, they're going to have to go through Dallas and Colorado and then probably Vegas.
They're probably not going to have to go through Dallas and Colorado because.
Oh, sorry, they're going to face in the first round. Excuse me. They're going to have to go through either of those teams.
I mean, St. Louis is looking pretty good right now. They're tied. They're playing the Colorado right now. It's 1-1 after the first in the West. Starting to look a little less competitive now. The Blues are in the midst of an 8-game winning streak, potentially 9, depending on, you know, they're playing the Avalanche right now, so we'll see if they're at 9. But if I think if they beat the Avalanche tonight, they're making the playoffs.
Unless there's a ridiculous collapse out of nowhere, they're in. Count them in.
Yeah, because, I mean, and they would be – Minnesota would be the team I'm getting more nervous about then at that point because they have not – they've been kind of meddling ever since Kaprizov's been out. And they went from being like a top 3 Central team to – you know, possibly being wild card 2.
This team has missed Kaprizov and Eriksson Ek so badly. The injury at first when he was hurt, head was above water. They were winning games, but as of late, they just have been like a 500 team. They just been average, and I get like them building such a big lead compared to the bottom of the playoff line. It was huge for them. They needed that so bad because now
they didn't have such a great start to the season. They might not be a playoff team.
What's up?
If they didn't have such a great start to the season, they legitimately
They'd be down with Vancouver and Calgary in like the 78 to 80 point range.
Mm-hmm.
But granted, like it's what ifs. They'll play in the what if games, cool and everything. But it's like it happened. So Minnesota had a great start to the season. Which
I mean, Philip Gustafson has still been awesome for them. Goaltending hasn't been the issue. I think the goal scoring has been the issue.
They haven't been able to score goals as of late.
Because just looking at the goals scored for some of the better teams in the West. So in the Central, Winnipeg 253 goals, Dallas 246, Colorado 248, Vegas 247. LA's an outlier with 206, but they've also gotten really good goaltending, only 182 goals against. Edmonton 233 goals, St. Louis 227. And Minnesota is only at 200.
Yeah, and there are 206 goals against.
So the goaltending hasn't been bad.
No, their goaltending has been...
They just haven't been scoring.
And adding a guy like Kaprizov in your lineup, if he's back for game 1 of the playoffs, huge W. You get such a boost from having a guy like Kaprizov in your lineup.
So another interesting thing about the Wild, now that I'm looking at it, because they did update the NHL app so you can sort by different metrics now in the standings.
Okay.
So they are, out of all the teams in a playoff spot right now, they are the lowest amount of goals scored. The teams below them are obviously Nashville, San Jose, Chicago, Calgary, Boston, the Islanders, and the Ducks.
Those are the only teams below them in goals for?
Yeah. And Anaheim and Chicago is by a goal.
I didn't realize it was that fucking low.
Yeah, because Kaprizov, like, if you look at, like, their stats, like, the goals like the score sheets from when they were like playing really well, is Kaprizov had a point on almost all of
Oh
those
my God,
goals.
Kaprizov is the definition of an MVP. Like most valuable
Oh,
player.
I think if Kaprizov hadn't gotten hurt, he'd legitimately be in the MVP conversation. Like he'd be definitely a finalist.
1000%. Mine and Jimmy's Kaprizov for Heart agenda would be strong, but now it's dead because he's been out for the last month and a half.
Oh yeah.
Rough, so rough.
I mean, if they can get him back to the playoffs, different story.
Yes. I think that's also what the Wild have realized too is no need to rush these guys back because they have such a cushion in a playoff spot.
That cushion's getting thinner though.
But Vancouver's not catching up to fucking Minnesota. All Minnesota has to do is if they just win a few more hockey games.
I agree with you, but it's not a gimme.
No, it's not a gimme, of course, because if fucking Minnesota just decides to lose 6 straight games, for example,
Because St. Louis is in a really good spot to pass them in the standings.
I mean, I don't think at this point Minnesota, sure they can use a wild card one playing a team like Vegas over Winnipeg, but also if you're Minnesota, you're just worried about getting in healthy, getting Kaprizov back at 100%.
Oh
and
yeah,
then
if
going
Kaprizov is not ready for the playoffs, they might be getting swept.
They're gonna get swept. I would be so shocked if they took one game, genuinely.
Especially if it ended up playing Winnipeg.
Yeah, and this is coming from from two guys actually that have believed in Minnesota. And we bring it up every single time we talk about Minnesota. This team is going to they have a good future.
I mean, I'm a little concerned now about their lack of goal scoring depth.
But also, they can add that. If we're just talking about this season, yes, I agree with you. I'm concerned about their depth. But I do think that this team overall, whether it's this season or not, they have a good future. And they've made good moves, Bill Guerin has, but again, a questionable trade in trading for Rental and Nyquist. They're looking more like a first-round exit now. Not my agenda, but me hoping and believing that LA would possibly take that last Pacific spot. I mean, not last. Get that first spot is dead. Vegas
I don't think it's happening.
Vegas has 96 points. LA has 89 points. Vegas has won 5 straight games. And my argument was LA only has 3 regulation losses at home all season. They're 26-3-4, and they only have 3 games that are not at home the rest of the way. But Vegas looks phenomenal. They're 6-2-2 in their last 10, even though LA is 8-2. And I love LA's goaltending. I love their defense. My only concern going into the playoffs is goal scoring. But, I mean, I don't know. If they have home ice advantage going into a playoff series against Edmonton, but again, Edmonton is only 2 points behind them, even though LA has a game in hand. Don't count them out because, again, Edmonton, if they get McDavid and Draisaitl back before the end of the season, could go on a nice little winning streak and snag that second spot. But unfortunately, it is looking like Vegas is going to take that first spot. LA and Edmonton, we're going to get a part 4. You're sick of it? I'm sick of it. We're all sick of it.
That's my biggest gripe with this playoff format is you get so many duplicate matchups every year. I would get it if it was a heated rivalry. I'm sick of Boston and Toronto playing every year, but at least those teams legitimately hate each other, and it's going to get feisty. The Kings and the Oilers don't have any beef,
which is crazy to think about.
It is kind of shocking.
It is.
They've played each other so much, but they really don't.
No, it's they have the playoff matchups, but there's no physicality.
I would say Edmonton and Vegas have more beef than Edmonton and LA.
Dude, any team has more beef than Edmonton and LA at this point in a playoff series. That's the one thing that you've brought up before, Connor McDavid against LA, and that's why you're taking Edmonton in a 6-game series in 6 games, right? Against
Something
LA.
Like that, yeah.
It's that when LA can't stop a certain player, or if they just keep getting scored on, they don't have another guy to match that scoring, which is why they'll lose a game 6-3 because they don't have that top goal scorer, that top winger, center, whatever, to go out and be like, you know what, we're down by 1 late in the game, pulled goalie with a minute and a half left, I'm going to push for offense and do whatever it takes to score. Whereas other teams, you have a Vegas who, if they can't stop Connor McDavid, they can still score as a team. You have Jack Eichel who's putting up record-breaking numbers in Vegas. And then even Winnipeg, Dallas, and Colorado, I think can all match Edmonton's offense. Not just Edmonton's, but any team in general too. They have the defense, but they also have the depth and star players to go out and score. So that's the one concern I have with LA.
That's why I think Edmonton would probably walk over LA if McDavid and Draisaitl are healthy, that's a big if because they're
Mhm.
both playing. They're both injured right now, and they look awful without them. But if Connor McDavid gets going, he can or Draisaitl, they could just take over games, and I don't care how good defensively you are, you're not going to be able to hold both of them.
And then when their speed gets going, you start taking penalties, and then their power play is virtually unstoppable.
Unless Darcy Kemper has like an all-time great playoff series, I don't see the Kings beating the Oilers.
He needs a 1999 Cup run hat-trick.
Something like that, because I mean, the Kings are a very good defensive team. I will give them that, but their lack of goal scoring, and I think they struggle when they play from behind.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I completely agree with you. And I had a question in mind, but I totally forgot it. No, it was between LA and Edmonton. I don't know. I forgot it.
Because I think if like Draisaitl or McDavid, one of those two players isn't 100%, you have a chance. You have a fighting chance. But if both of them are going, and Connor McDavid's going to be on a mission in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, I mean he
was a game away from winning a Stanley Cup.
A goal away too.
I can't believe they didn't score in that at the end of that game though. At the end of the year,
That was a crazy sequence.
That was insane. I don't know how McDavid didn't score there.
No,
but anyway, they were this close to winning the Stanley Cup, and there's a lot of pressure on that team, and McDavid thrives under pressure.
I found my question, and I'll bring up the next point.
Yeah.
If LA plays Edmonton, and let's say McDavid and Draisaitl are both in the lineup healthy, and LA wins the series, are you going to sit there and be like, I'm surprised LA took the series?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I believe I don't know if I believe in the Oilers to make a cup run, but I believe in them to get out of the first round. I think when they play a team like Vegas in the second round, I think that's when their lack of depth becomes scary.
Their lack of depth is scary.
Because Vegas has better depth and they can score goals.
My only thing with Edmonton is I'm not doubting that they can't beat LA. I think LA would still win in 7 games, but again, Edmonton, you have McDavid and Draisaitl. They can put up 7 points in 4 games and then sweep LA for all the fuck we know. 7 points each. But I want to see Stuart Skinner turn it on in the playoffs, starting game 1 of the playoffs. Not in the middle of the second round after he gets benched against who they play in the second round? Vancouver. I want to see a Stuart Skinner. Like, it might take Stuart Skinner going on another ridiculous run.
I mean, because it's very possible Edmonton still ends up getting home ice. They're only 2 points behind the Kings for the second spot. But I think that playoff matchup might be locked in.
I think it is locked in.
I know Vegas hasn't clinched the division yet, but
they're 7 points up.
Barring something unforeseen, I think Vegas will win the division, and we're getting the Kings Oilers again.
Yeah, and I do think that home ice advantage is really important for that series, especially for LA. If Edmonton steals that second spot from LA is not coming out of that series.
It's interesting because we have another playoff series that is pretty much locked up in the Devils and the Hurricanes too, because there's not a team because Washington's going to win the division.
It's so crazy to me that New Jersey has 83 points in 74 games and are still third in the division. The bottom of that Metro division has been so rough. I mean, Columbus right now sits in a playoff spot.
What's wild to me is we were talking about this last night. Detroit has been playing horrible hockey lately. They're 3-7 in their last 10. They've lost 2 in a row. They are .500, and they are 3 points out of a playoff spot.
They have 231 goals against, negative 23 goal differential. Montreal has a negative 28 goal differential, and they are tied for a playoff spot with 75 points.
The wild card 2 spot in the East this year is just bad. Like, at least I'll give the Oilers, not the Senators, credit because I think they are a playoff team, and the 6 points ahead of Columbus. They're going to probably make the playoffs.
Ottawa will. And 3 days ago, Columbus, not even 2 days ago, before Columbus won their last 2 straight games,
they were on a 4-game losing streak.
Well, not only that, but also they had a 6% chance to get in the playoffs per money puck. And now, look at them. They're tied. And this entire wild card race for this wild card 2 spot specifically has been so unpredictable.
The Rangers are still in it. The Rangers have been playing awful lately. The Islanders are still in it, and the Islanders have also not been playing very good lately.
Get Igor out of New York, dude. Jesus.
Yeah, I don't know. A bad team is going to make the playoffs in the East.
They're going to get smoked by Washington. Absolutely
I think if you're the
shit-stomped.
Blue Jackets or the Canadians, you're over the moon to get your ass kicked in the first round of the playoffs because neither team expected to be anywhere close to a playoff spot this year.
I also think both of those teams will give the best fight.
I
I don't know.
think-
New York would probably be in it strictly because of Igor. They might legitimately lose games like 3-1, 3-2.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, we'll know. We'll have a much better idea when we record next week because we're getting pretty close to the end of the year.
We're just, 2.5 weeks away? 3 weeks away? I think the playoffs start either 17th or 19th.
So
of
we
April.
have we pretty much have 3 weeks left of hockey, of regular season hockey.
When's
The
the-
last day of the regular season is April 17th.
And playoffs start the 19th.
So we have 5 more recordings to go until the playoffs are about to start. So probably when we record on the 16th, we'll have a really good idea of what the playoff matchups are going to be.
I think we will, unless there's like teams tied and maybe we have a team.
Because
to
what
play on
did
the
they
17th.
say they wanted the playoffs to start the 20th or the 21st?
I thought 19th. Am I
Oh, they're
tripping?
going to give them 1 day off and then right into the playoffs?
I looked it up the other day and I'm pretty sure it said 19th.
Yeah.
But let me double
Because
check.
there's in a perfect world, I mean, that would be good for us. Is we can have all the playoff matchups locked up on the 16th, and then we can just record knowing that, but probably won't happen.
So I have. Yeah, the playoffs will probably start Saturday, April 19th. I don't think it's official though. This says probably, which means it's not set in stone.
Yeah, no, you're probably right.
I would be shocked if they don't start it on that Saturday. But if I was the NHL though, like it's good because you have it start on the weekend and it's on a Saturday too. But it makes sense for a Monday, but also that's kind of my OCD being like start in the beginning of the week instead of the end. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to end it for today's episode. If you guys enjoy all of our content, all of our socials are down below as well as the subscribe button. If you guys are listening on Apple and Spotify, head over to our YouTube, subscribe, and notification bell there for more exclusive content. And we'll see you guys in our next episode.